Evio. Welcome back to the Devil's Ledger for the week of October 20th, 2025. We'll get to what's coming up on the Evio Creative Network this week in a minute, but I'd like to start, as normal, with the creepiest thing I heard this week. And this one hits a little close to home. It's a story called The Wheeze and the Moam. Have you ever heard a sound so strange you start wondering if it's really a sound at all? Like maybe it's a memory, or something that the woods remember better than you do. In northern New Jersey, there's a patch of forest tucked behind a row of ranch houses just before Route 23 bends toward the old quarry. It's not wilderness exactly, but it's wild enough. The kind of woods that seem to grow thicker every time that you just glance away. So back in the late 90s, the story goes that a boy lived there, 4, maybe 5 years old. He'd play out in his backyard near the trees, talking to someone that his parents couldn't see. When they asked, he said he was talking to the Wheeze and the Moam. M-O-A-M. Moam. They thought it was a game, a made-up story. You know, kids do that. They give names to things that they don't understand. But there was something about the word Moam, because it wasn't a word that anybody knew or had spoken before or had heard before. The family figured he meant to say moan, and he was referring to the sound that the wind makes as it passes through the pines. But sometimes when the air was dead still, they'd hear it. A slow, dragging breath that didn't sound like wind at all. So first came the wheeze, a rattling inhale that was deep and hollow, like air being pulled through a cracked throat. And then came the moam, a low, wet exhale that seemed to come from everywhere all at once. And the weird thing is their dog heard it too. The dog would freeze at their back door and growl toward the trees, tail between its legs. Then one autumn evening, right before Halloween, the boy came inside with dirt under his fingernails. And he said something to the effect of, "They're making a door." Now, nobody knew what he meant. So parents, they just tucked him into bed. They turned on his nightlight, thought nothing more of it. Until morning. They found the door to the backyard was wide open. It was one of those sliding glass doors. And the boy was gone. Police searched for days. They found no footprints beyond the tree line, just patches of disturbed earth near an old drainage ditch. And faintly in the air, they heard that sound, the wheezing and the moaning. Some said he'd wandered toward the quarry and fallen in. Some said bears. There are a lot of black bears in the area. But others, the ones who'd lived there a long time, said they'd heard these stories before, from hunters, from surveyors, from anyone unlucky enough to be in those woods after dark. One hunter said that the moam was like a voice, but you couldn't tell if it was in your head or right behind your ear. But they all described the same thing, the sound of something breathing. Too close to be the wind, too steady to be human. A wheeze and then a moam, always in that order. The strange part is nobody agrees on what it looks like, if it looks like anything. Some say it's a shape in the fog. Others have said it's a figure hunched low to the ground, with lungs so big you can see them moving under whatever skin it has. One man even claimed it brushed against him while he was walking home from the quarry one night. Said it felt cold and soft, like breathing through cloth. Not long after, he moved away. So today those woods are mostly overgrown, the old quarry's flooded and fenced off, the houses are quiet, the decks rotting into the hillside. But if you park on the shoulder late at night, you can still hear it. Faint. Like an engine turning over somewhere deep beneath the dirt. The wheeze and the moam. People say it's just the wind funneling through the storm drains. Some say it's groundwater pushing through the quarry stone. But others, those who've actually stood there and felt their chest tighten, swear it's something older. Something that breathes with the forest, like the woods themselves are alive, and never forgot the sound of that little boy's voice. Some say on the night before Halloween, locally we call it Goosey Night, everyone else calls it Mischief Night, You can still hear him talking to it, laughing even, just a child whispering into the dark, waiting for the dark to whisper back. And if you hear it, they say, the wheeze and then the moam, don't answer, because it's not a call for help. It's an invitation to a place you really don't want to go. Here's why I love this story. It's kind of true. I couldn't believe I found this online. I was talking about it with my brother, and it's got to be the kid who wrote it. But the wheeze and the moam was a figment of my next door neighbor's imagination when I was growing up. It wasn't in the late 90s. It was in the late 70s, maybe the early 80s. But it was my next door neighbor, a little kid named Alex. He was 4 or 5 years old, and he would sit in his backyard and he would yell at the woods. And he would say, the wheeze and the moam. He would make a big production out of it. He wasn't some quiet, withdrawn kid who was talking to an imaginary friend. No, he named the sounds coming from the forest. And yes, they were dark and kind of forbidding woods and swamps for a couple of 100 yards behind my house. But there was never any weird supernatural stuff going on. And I think he meant the wheeze and the moan, definitely. And moam was a mispronunciation of moan. And yes, they moved away shortly thereafter, but it was because his dad got a job in Virginia. It wasn't because the kid went missing and fell into the quarry, because there's no quarry. There's sand pits and there's a reservoir, but we're not like a quarry town. So this seems like an interesting attempt at creating some interesting local folklore and a cool, scary campfire story to be shared around this time, right around Halloween. So, Alex, if you're out there, great story. I'm sure this was you. Who else would know about the wheeze and the moam? You got to be in your late 40s now, brother. I hope you're well. If you hear this, reach out to me. info@eviocreative.com. This week on The Devil Within, we're up to episode 8 in the re-release of season 1. The episode's called Nothing Gold Can Stay, another Robert Frost poem. So the main story of the podcast wraps up. It's going to be a little bit more of Poetry Corner with Brandon. We explore the absolute genius of Robert Frost, the tragedy of Tommy's wasted youth, and what scared the church so much about Tommy's personal grimoire. Plus, my attempt to rewrite history, to paint Tommy in a better, even heroic light. That's this week on Devil Within. Over on Taboo Treasures, the fellas take a new angle on the traditional Halloween episode. This week, in honor of Halloween, they relay the absolutely insane amount of crazy, interesting, and just weird events that actually took place on Halloween over the centuries. You're not going to want to miss that. On the Ides of April, we have part 2 of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the murder in the streets of Sarajevo that led to the outbreak of World War I. We'll go over the unreal circumstances that led to the shooting, how quickly alliances were formed and countries mobilized their armies, and just like that, Europe was in flames. Who were the main players? How did it unfold so quickly, and what were the lasting effects of the conflict? That's this week on the Ides of April. In horror movies this week, there's a lot to choose from, with it being the Halloween season. The standout for me is a film called Your Host. It's described as The Price is Right meets Saw. So in the movie, it's about 4 contestants, 4 friends really, who wake up and they're in an abandoned factory, and they're forced to play a series of brutal and sadistic games. And the only way to survive is to win. What's interesting for me about it is who the main actor is. The bad guy is an actor named Jackie Earle Haley. I know him as a kid from the movie The Bad News Bears. As he grew up, he was in Little Children, he was in Lincoln, he played Rorschach in Watchmen. He's a great actor. And honestly, I'd watch the movie just for him. Also, don't forget about Let the Devil In on MGM+. If you haven't watched it yet, now's the perfect time with Halloween just around the corner. And there are a bunch of links in the description for the sponsors of the Evio network that I'd appreciate you checking out. From Quince to BetterHelp, Mint Mobile, ExpressVPN, Mood Cannabis Gummies, Ollie Dog Food, Monarch Financial Services. There are some great deals for our listeners, and again, links and promo codes in the description. And don't forget, if you're more of a YouTube person, all EVO shows, every episode, exists on our Evio Creative YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications, comment, and share to your heart's content. From Evio Creative, thank you, and we'll see you this week.